So welcome everyone. My name is Myra Medhurst and I'm a priestess healer, a modern day priestess, and also a New Earth ambassador for many of the light races and star nations. And so thank you so much for being here. Some part of my message has resonated with you. Some part of your soul call, even part of your Akashic Records may be really quite keen to hear what I have to share today. So thank you so much for being here. And it's really important for me to say up front is that I can only share the pathways that I have personally traveled. I can only take you to the places that I have gone to. And so it's really important that I'm happy to be your guide and assist you back to the light of your inner being. And so you get to experience this reconnection and the light of your inner being. But, once I take you as far as I have personally traveled, then I invite you for your own Akashic remembrances, your own evolving consciousness, your own Akashic records to really kick in and come online, because you truly are the oracle. You are divine, and all the answers are contained within your body. And I'll go into the framework and mechanics today of how I know that to be true, how I came to experience that for myself in my own body, in my own life. And so this is the wisdom I wish to impart to my fellow sisters, my star brothers and star sisters. And so for me, my Atlantean Akashic Records came online in 2005, and there were no masterclasses to attend to. That's nearly 20 years ago, okay? And so there wasn't a great deal of literature. There wasn't a great deal of guides or mentors in this space. And the ones that were, 2/3 of what they were sharing resonated with me. And then quite a large portion, I was like, nah, it's kind of not good enough. It's not meaty enough. It's not robust enough. I want to know how this practically applies to my life now. And I guess I've always had that view with my own ascension process, my own healing of my childhood wounding, and wanting to understand the game, the awakening process in a physical body. And so while I can talk about concepts that are very esoteric in nature, and we can go very galactic, we can go off planet, and it's tempting because those subjects do sparkle and they do glitter. But it's really important not to get sidetracked by the glittery objects. And how true is this for life, right? You get sidetracked and perhaps go a little bit too far into one pathway and then realize that you actually have not been grounded, or you perhaps haven't integrated and embodied what that pathway actually really wants to invite you into. So I've always looked at my ascension process and awakening and channeling abilities and going quite galactic. I've always really looked at it in a way where I could make it grounded, where I could make it applicable to life, where I could integrate the lessons, the learnings, and the wisdom. So when it is embodied, you have such a comprehensive knowing. No one can take that away from you when it is living and breathing and pulsating in your body. Now, your mind, if you understand concepts from the mind, you can be persuaded, you can be influenced. But when the body, when the DNA, when the Akashic records know something, you will have a profound sensation occur in your body And it won't just be located in one part of your body. It will be expressed through the center point of all of the cells of your being. So an Akashic remembrance feels very different from a Kundalini awakening. And so this is something I just want to give some framework to. So a Kundalini awakening, if any of the women here have experienced this, I've had 4 in my lifetime, and they've all been natural and they've all been spontaneous. I wasn't seeking, I wasn't in a structured workshop that was talking about these themes. My first was actually, I went to acting school. I went to Melbourne, 3 years performing arts school. And it was while I was in 2nd year of acting school, we were doing body work. So we were beginning to understand posture and structure for character building, you know, how to use the frame of the body to portray a certain character. And so we did a body work process called feldenkrais. So you may have heard of it. It is kind of in the realms of Bowen therapy. And so a lot of opera singers, performers use this body work because it's designed to elongate the spine and to find more space and more flexibility and more fluidity through the spine. So while I was in this feldenkrais class, we did a little subtle movements, very subtle. And so the energies I now work with are actually very subtle, because as you go up into those evolving consciousness and the higher realities, it's only, I'm talking like 1 degree of a shift. It's very refined, subtle work. And if there are any healers in the room, you'll begin to experience this for yourself in your own healing modalities, that you have to do less with your client now, or even your own process. And the reason that is that the frequencies with Mother Earth are getting higher and higher. They're getting more subtle. They're getting more refined. So we're not pushing that heavy load through the density anymore. So you have to be very aware of this now as a healer. You can actually do a lot less with crystals, a lot less with your sound, a lot less with your voice and the crystal singing bowls. Just try it out and explore doing really soft, subtle notes and really feel and receive what is available in those spaces. And so we have a tendency, because of where the collective has been, is plugged into that fear and that density of that collective agreement that it's all fear, it's pain, it's suffering. So sound workers and healers and Sha men and Sha women, we had to work really hard. We had to use fire. We had to use that Kundalini energy to literally electrify and to run pretty much an electrical volt through the spine to get rid of all that density, that sludge, that gunk, that debris, that residual crap from the 3D story. So if you're really open and receptive, you'll find that your work should be getting more subtle. And if not, I just invite you to explore that for yourself. And this is applied through all areas of your life. Be more subtle, soften your consciousness. So just going back to a Kundalini experience, it is the serpent energy at the coccyx, the base of the spine. And you can look up, yogic literature to get a more comprehensive and in-depth understanding. And so what we're doing here with the Kundalini awakening, it's a direct flow. It's channeling from the base of the spine, and it's spiraling. And what it's doing, it is flushing out the chakras on the way up. So my husband, one of his trades is a plumber. And we always giggle because so much of energetics you can always relate back through metaphors of plumbing. It's pipe work. We are made of pipes. Our veins are pipes. You know, our cardiovascular system is pipes, our circulatory system. So we always refer it back to the trade of becoming a plumber or becoming an electrician. And so the Kundalini energy, it's sleeping at the coccyx, and it's going to curl up and it's going to flush out. It's literally like getting a big hydro jet of water and flushing it through the sewerage pipe. And so this is the ascending Kundalini energy, and then you have a descending Kundalini energy. The most frequent for humanity is the ascending one. It's going to travel up from the base of the spine. It's going to flush out all those major chakra points. Now, this can happen really quite quickly. And so they can happen spontaneously, and then you can have more structure around it. I personally have not done plant medicine, so I cannot comment on that. But I know that that is achievable in those spaces. And my only word of caution is to be incredibly safe, because you don't want to blow your circuitry. Yeah, it can be incredibly destabilizing. You can go through that experience and really not have your feet land back on the earth for 3 weeks. It can, and you know, it can stir up your childhood trauma. And so you need to have community. And I just love this expression at the moment, is that, you know, it takes community to raise a child. It takes community to heal. It really does. You know, that's why I have the New Earth Sisterhood, is because it literally takes community. It takes the wisdom of all the women in the room. It takes all of the modalities. We need all of the medicine and the gifts from the women. And I'll go into why that is. And it relates to Atlantis and Lemuria. So this is the Kundalini awakening. You'll very much know when you've had one, because it is a direct electrical drive up the spine, okay? That's what that feels like in the body. If you experience one, please get support. Please get support, people that understand the energetic body, and people that can hold you. And it's nothing new. The yogic masters have been practicing this for millennia. It's just the West are very interested in it at the moment. And I caution the West to at least have some respect to what the Eastern yogic practitioners say about it as well. So now an Akashic remembrance feels completely different. An Akashic remembrance is you're completely awake and aware, you're not in a dream state, and you're not sleeping, you're awake. And literally the information and the remembrance comes through the center point of all of the cells of your being. So the center point of all of the cells of your being is a multidimensional portal. It is quantum. So when you have an Akashic remembrance, it's literally like this Myra just walked entirely, wholly into something very different. And it can last 3 seconds, it can last 30 seconds, it can last days. Mine have been very brief. Because it's quantum, the information is coming as a quantum delivery. So it's not linear time. So my first Akashic remembrance was 2005. It was very Atlantean. It literally was no more than 3 seconds. But I could write 30 encyclopedias on what I saw, experienced, felt, and is literally not talking to the 5 senses of the body. It is talking to the multidimensional portal that exists within the center point of all of your cells of your being. So it's a very different experience, okay? It's like being bathed in an ocean. It has a very different, whereas a Kundalini is more the fire, electrical running up the spine. An Akashic remembrance, the activation of the DNA, is a lot more feminine. It is a total remembrance, yeah? So people understanding this difference. So if you experience these shifts in your own ascension process, at least you'll know what kind of ballpark you're in, because then you can get the help and the support and you can talk to community. So you've got to have the framework of understanding what the experience is that you just went through. So the Akash is 5D, it's quantum, okay? And it does come through your DNA, your Akashic Records, and your innate. Now, I'll just talk a little bit on what the innate is. The innate is the higher intelligences of your body. And I'll give you a very practical example of this. When you go to have a kinesiology session, if we're familiar with that modality, or we do muscle testing, yeah? That healer, that practitioner is not asking your mind if you have a tolerance to gluten or not. That practitioner is asking your body, does this client not respond well to gluten or whatever it is? That practitioner is asking the higher intelligences of your body. So if you really understand what is happening there, the body, the cellular structure knows of your intolerance before the mind does. And we give so much power to the mind in humanity, and it is one of our greatest downfalls. You know, we think the mind is king because we can create, but you know, there's so much literature and ancient scripture saying that we do indeed have it very backwards. And this is why we see this inverted reality now. The mind, you can influence, you can corrupt it, you can persuade it. It's psychological warfare at the moment, because they are literally broadcasting messages to get inside this. So I have a teaching and it says you protect your mind at all costs. The only thing you need to fear in life is your mind out of control. It's a tool. Use it. Like a plumber will use his wrench. We are ascending ladies of light. We will use our mind as a tool. Now, the greatest tool the mind has is to focus. It's the greatest, highest quality of the mind. And fifth dimensional living is we're not going to the mind for information now. It is highly limited. It has an expiry date. You know, information quickly becomes superseded, it becomes outdated. But if you go to the body for your information, like what is happening in a kinesiology session, and you allow your information to come through the center point of all of the cells of your being, You have unlimited supply of information, of wisdom, of higher intelligences. So this is the innate system, okay? It's the higher intelligence of the body. So the body knows that it is sick before the mind. The body knows when it is pregnant before the mind does. And so wisdom, the wisdom in the women, we need to go back and practice this, believe it, know it to be true, and embody it in our own lives. We walk into the room and we know something is up. That's the innate. And so it's quantum. It's talking, it's accessing that multidimensional part of our reality. So when things are multidimensional, I just want to explain, they pop in and out of existence. So it is like a star being born and then dying. And it just pops into reality, pops out of reality, pops into reality, pops out of reality. And so if you were to look at the, this is just coming to me now to share with you, the Yin and the Yang symbol. And so, you know, you've got that big kind of chunk of the white with the black circle in it, and then vice versa. You've got the side of the black and then the white circle. So I invite all the women here to, when you look at sacred symbols and these ancient religious and scripture symbols, I invite you to look at them from this moment on from a 3D perspective. I want you to take it off the page, which is 2D. I want you to take it off the page and imagine now the Yin Yang symbol as a globe in space. Can you see that now? And so now I'm looking through those little circle points. So the white circle is in the predominant black side and vice versa. These are portals. Okay, so if you want to travel out of the black, jump through the white hole and you will pop out into the white side, vice versa. And this is also overlaid now with the infinity symbol. So when things cross that center point, they are popping in and out of existence. This is how multidimensionality works. The reason I'm explaining this to you is because it relates to your chromosomes. So as you know, we're mammals and scientists have tried forever and forever to fit a, to fit a peg in a square hole. A round hole. They're trying to link us to the primates, to the apes. We will never fit there because that is not where we came from. Our chromosomes do not match up. All the scientific community need to wake up, and some of them are. But the scientific community need to hurry up and begin to marry and unify their perspectives and their modalities to be highly inclusive of what spiritual yogic masters have been saying all along. Our last chromosome, that 24th chromosome, is multidimensional. It is there. It's just popping in and out of existence. And so our scientists haven't discovered yet the tool that is able to see that. They're wanting it to be under the microscope. You will not find it under a microscope. It pops in and out of reality. So why would it do that? Because it is quantum. It is housed on the other side of the veil. So you want to know where your divinity comes from? It comes from the other side of the veil, through that quantum chromosome, that pair that scientists can't locate yet because they haven't built the instruments that are subtle enough to see it. And so your divinity is quantum and multidimensional. So it also speaks through the center point of all of your cells. And so this is the framework I teach. Okay. So that's the mechanics of the systems that are working there. That's a very quick overview. There's much, much more. But we've spoken about the DNA. We've spoken about the human Akash. Okay, so the Akash, just going back, it's a Sanskrit word and it literally translates to sky. It just translates to sky. And so we have the Akash now very much available to humanity. And the reasons that that is occurring is that the frequencies of the planet have become more heightened and more refined. So therefore the frequencies of our body, specifically our cellular structure, begin to very much come online, and it gets filled with more light and more light. And so this is the ascension process. It is occurring within your cellular structure. And so the ascension of our divine Mother Earth is what has initiated the awakening process within the body. She is permitting us now, she's initiating us through her own ascension, that the awakening process can now occur within the bodies of humanity. Now, in the past, we had to die, go back to source, and come back to initiate that process. So that is why all our star brothers and sisters are looking with very keen eyes on planet Earth at the moment, because we are initiating our awakening process by remaining in the physical body for the very first time in this humanity's history. This has not occurred before. That's why there's so many evolved spiritual star seeds, masters, ladies of light coming back, because we literally need those teachers and masters on the ground, because this is the first time it's ever happened before. We need that level of support. And so the multidimensional matter contained within your body, it starts getting bathed in higher and higher frequencies of light. And so the process of becoming more light in the body is what turns on your DNA. It's what turns on your Akashic Records, and it turns on your light body and all of the quantum aspects of yourself. And so Akash, I said the Sanskrit word just literally translates to sky. And so the yogic masters would literally go into a state of meditation, and they would, it's like sifting through a catalog system in the sky. And when I do it, when I first started doing it, my hands literally wanted to move in this fashion to get a sense of parcels of information that I was moving through. And it's like those old library catalogs where you pull out the drawer and you have those vanilla cards that you sift through. That's how it first appeared to me. It now looks different to me. So your personal Akashic records, they're actually contained within 4 places. Okay. The first one, it's contained within the crystalline grid of Mother Earth, of this planet. The reason that is if we wipe out humanity, this planet still has a record of all the beautiful souls that were here and all of the awakenings and lessons and the history of humanity. It will still be recorded in this planet. And then we have a second place. Again, it is in with Mother Earth. I don't know a lot about this one, but I have visited it in an astral plane, and it is called the Cave of Creation. So it's a multidimensional place. No one can access it. No one will ever find it. But it is, and I have had one experience of this when my grandmother died, so my mum's mum. When someone dies, they return back to the cave of creation, and they will remain there for 3 days in our earthly time. And I think that's kind of even, you know, depicted in the story of Jesus when he died and he was placed in the tomb for 3 days. I think this is where this story comes from. I do believe it is an illustration to the cave of creation. Now, our Akashic Records, the third place it's stored is within the body, within the DNA, which I've gone into. And the fourth and final place that your personal Akashic Records are contained are actually within all of the whales and all of the dolphins. And the reason that is, so we have safety measures all along. The reason that is if we wipe out humanity, if we destroy all the land mass on this planet, the whales and dolphins fully submerged in water will still be recording our humanity's history, and it will still be recording the ascension process for the planet. So the Akashic Records and DNA, they contain, the two best things they contain are energy and emotion. So when I had my first Akashic remembrance, the Atlantean one in 2005, people go, oh, what did you see? What did you, and it's not detailed like that. I can't tell you what I was drinking or how the area was kind of set. It's more a sense of emotion coming to flood back and information and energy. So it can be very much an upgrading of your energy, because the Atlantean and Lemurian timeline is a more higher spiritually evolved time in our humanity. So there is this sensation of kind of upgrading, but it's not really that important, you know, what your name was, what's the actual linear, you know, so many people ask, oh, but when did Atlantis start? When did Atlantis fall? And in the bigger scheme of things, it's actually not that important. Those sorts of things become insignificant when you realize the power of what you're actually unlocking. And we also have the beautiful magnetic grids on planet Earth. And she very much is our ascension partner. So if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling lonely, if you feel like you've got no one that understands what you're going through, your best ascension partner is the divine mother, Mother Earth. And I'll tell you why. So Gaia, she has magnetic grids, doesn't she? She has the ley lines, she has the crystalline grids, and she has the nodes and the nulls, which are those portals. So those portals are continuing to open, and they're unlocking parcels of these past civilizations and all of this beautiful wisdom. Now, the grid that is surrounding your DNA is magnetic as well. So this means that the transfer of energy information between the several places of the Akash is stored, right? And it's possible because of the attributes of magnetics. And moving forward into this new earth and this 5D living, magnetics will be a very huge field. It will power our cities. It will power our technology. Magnetics, okay? So if you go back to very basic magnetics, where you have the feminine and the male sides to a magnet, and seemingly out of nowhere, they pull to one another when you've got those correct poles. So you have that amount of pull around all of your DNA, and those magnetic grids are also all around our Mother Earth. So magnetics is a very, very untapped resource for this humanity on this planet. It will literally, the beautiful thing about magnetics is it doesn't require any fossil fuel. It doesn't require any combustion. It doesn't require any masculine light. Magnetics is a feminine energy. And nothing starts it and nothing stops it. So once you've got magnets that are spinning, they will spin for eternity. You don't need to go and turn a generator on or off. It is literally spinning, and it is pulling the power in from the multidimensional 5D quantum field, and it's safe. It's safe. It can't destroy the planet, and it can't destroy humanity. Whereas fossil fuels, it's such a dense, it requires the masculine lighting the fire. You know, our jet planes and our rockets, they're highly flammable. It's so incredibly dangerous. There's huge amounts of fuel, and it's such a masculine energy. So there's this new feminine technology. We will discover all of that through magnetics, okay? And that's also what we were doing in Atlantis and very much in Lemuria. It's how all the Palladians travel all through intergalactic space travel. A lot of it is to do with the power of magnets. So have you ever wondered why Gaia records everything that humans do? And it's literally because every human soul that comes to Earth does make a difference. So if you ever think you're not making a difference, you really, really are. And the Mother Earth knows it. She is recording absolutely everything you do through her magnetic grids and through her crystalline structure. Okay. How are we going with everything? I'll just, if you want to unmute anyone, if you have any questions so far. Oh, thanks, Ruth. Thank you. Yeah. I'll just take a sip of water. But please unmute yourself if you do have any questions.
So Myra, I have a question. When you're testing something out in your life and you want to access that innate energy or that innate knowledge, like what's the best way to ease into testing your thoughts and testing your decisions to that innate knowledge?
Yeah, cool. I've got two practices I use, Erica. So the first one is based in my training as an advanced pranic healer. So it can be, and look, you need to practice up to it. So you've got the confidence to know of your accuracy. So you start small, right? And it's literally like rubbing your hands together and creating some chi, creating some prana. And so you can feel the field of life force, right? And so, you know, things that I do, and usually I'll have my feet kind of really beautifully planted into the ground. I'll close my eyes. I'll just try and I come back to center. I don't try, I come back to center. And I'll begin by rubbing my hands, and I'll create some energy, and then I just expand my hands out. So now I'm kind of feeling my energetic field is out here, right? And you just test it out. So you literally, you can test it out by saying a word like, I won't say that one. I can't even think of a negative word at the moment to say, but let's put fear, like fear. So you literally imagine fear now sitting inside your energetic field. So fear for me it doesn't have a strong life force at all. So my hands will literally kind of collapse in to one another because there's no prana here, there's no chi. But if I put the word golden, or I put the word love, or I put the word divinity in there, my hands want to expand because the energetic field of that word is so powerful for me that it's beginning. So what I'm doing, this is from a pranic healing modality, this is called scanning. You're scanning the energetic atmosphere of something. So I can bring beautiful water in it that I know is filtered or whatnot, and you have a little test on it. Put junk food in there and test and scan a hamburger from McDonald's. And it just feels, it's weak. It's so weak. So start with baby steps, start with little small things like that. Now what I do is when you know you're scanning, you put, say you've met someone and it's a business opportunity, put that into and imagine it sitting in front of you. And now I want to scan the energetic field now to this business opportunity or this new acquaintance that I have met. I'm just not sure if this friendship is really aligned with where I'm at in the moment. So you literally just kind of scan the atmosphere. And so you can do that with decision-making process as well. Put that in and scan it. Or I've had this intuitive thought, let me really tune in and check in to see if I'm kind of on the mark here. And literally you can begin to clean out even the energy of bank accounts, like buying and selling businesses, people you meet, like you apply it. So that's one way. And then you can just also do basic muscle testing at home. So you might need an additional person to start with until you, and so you just do a control test, like, you know, the starting point of a control test is, you know, my name is Myra, and then test for that, you know, that is true, that is accurate. Okay, you know, I live on the Sunshine Coast, boom, true. And so you do these muscle testing controls first, and then you know the accuracy of your body is listening to you, that it is online, that it is receptive, and then you kind of ask the juicier questions. But you don't start with the big heavy hitting questions up front. You've got to train your body up for this. You've got to familiarize your cellular structure, that this is how you're now doing life. Yeah. So just start small with baby steps. But I bounce between the pranic healing one. I use the most because that's where I'm trained in that. And so this is just simply called scanning. So you can scan your chakras, you can scan your body, you scan your house, everything. And one of the best pranic healers in the world is actually Jesus Christ. If you look at any of his artwork, he's holding the traditional kind of prana. He's channeling prana, life force, chi, right? That's why you can go in and heal the lepers. And he walk away and not be, you know, contracting any diseases because his field is so heightened. And so as we continue to evolve into these higher dimensions and realities, disease will leave the planet. You only have disease when you're hanging out in the density. Okay, disease, it's a very dense vibration. And so the more you continue, and we will actually get there, it is one of the attributes of higher living is you know, beautiful that humanity and the planet will be disease free. there'll be kind of different obstacles we'll have. So I just want to talk about the importance of kind of, now that I've given you that framework, so how do you access it? And the best conditions are, you must be in a relaxed state. You must soften your consciousness. Because when you're in fight or flight or freeze, your nervous system is holding on. And if you want to access beautiful things in the quantum through the Akashic DNA, you've got to soften your consciousness. You have to relax the nervous system. And so that's why there's such a push from the powers that be and the patriarchal system and the old stories that are crumbling, is to keep humanity stressed, keep you on the hamster wheel, keep you wanting more money, keep you wanting buying a bigger house so you've got a bigger mortgage to pay now. You have to disengage from that story. It is designed very deliberately to keep your nervous system stressed, because if humanity actually relaxes and softens its consciousness and actually has fun, we would awaken very, very quickly to the power of our divinity. And we would realize that we wouldn't need mainstream media or the latest news channel for our information. We would literally have unlimited information on tap through our cellular structure. And that's how the ancient yogics and the Mayans worked this stuff out. They didn't dissect a body. They meditated, relaxed, and elevated their consciousness so high that they wrote the chakra systems, the meridian lines over the physical body. That wasn't given to them in a book. They worked it out themselves. All those energetic systems were revealed to them because they went inside. They went within. And so did the Mayans. So the Mayans were fantastic at understanding the cosmos. But it's not because they looked out with their eyes and studied the night sky. That's a little part of it. But you have to live a very, very, very long time to understand galactic cycles. The Mayans worked it out because they went within and they worked out the galactic cycles and seasons of a bigger, broader time. And so the Mayans, their Mayan calendar is what I'm referring to now. Its center point is the center point of the grand central sun. And so our solar system, our planet Earth, and our solar calendar, it's pinpointed, like the peg in the sand is our dance and our rotation around the sun that lights up our solar system. So the Mayans went well beyond that. Their peg in the sand for coming up with the Mayan galactic calendar is the center point of the grand central sun, which is the birthplace to this whole universe, this whole galactic system. So that's why there's so much wisdom and new reference points if you're to do a little bit of a study into the Mayan calendar. Because they've got the eagle's view. They've taken flight and they're looking at bigger cycles of time. Now, where you want to use that to your advantage is literally in these moments of when shit and crap is going on for this planet and, shit's going down. Humanity doesn't know it needs to waken up to these themes. So when you're in an emergency situation, when you're in a stressful situation, everyone says, just take a step back, just take a broader perspective. You know, just walk away from the situation and look at it with fresh eyes. And that's literally what the Mayan calendar can do for humanity, is you just take a step back and look at longer cycles of time for humanity and this planet. You'll realize that this planet has actually been through a process like this before. And it's what happened in Atlantis. And it's what happened before that. And not only has it happened on this planet, it's happened in all the other planets in our star systems. Each planet is evolving. Each planet has life form, has consciousness. And they're ascending and healing and evolving as well, just as much as we are. And so I talk about this a lot, is this the micro to the macro. And so it's a really handy tool to use. So anything that's happening on the micro level within the body. So this is why I say, you know, connecting with your cellular structure, the cells of your being. On the micro level, that's what's happening. But on the macro level out there, so as within, as without, so below, you know, as above, as below. This is the micro macro thinking. And it can serve you really, really well, because the fastest way to connect to all your star brothers and sisters out there is to connect with all of the stars of the cells of your being within you. So this is the micro, and it mirrors the macro. And so anything, so then they say, well, anything, you know, how you do, there's a teaching in my yogic practice, is what you do in the yoga room is how you do life. And it's taking that concept again. You know, if you're really truthful and you take a hard look at yourself, how you treat yourself is actually how you treat all other people in humanity. So this is the teaching. And I mean, you can take that further again, is, you know, Jesus said is like, you know, I am my Father, or, you know, everything I have, you have too. And there's literally what you see in me, you have all within you as well. I'll just move on to the star seeds now. So there's a big awakening of the star seeds at the moment, has been for a couple of decades. You know, I said, you know, back in 2005 is when my first Atlantean remembrance kicked in, and there's been a couple since then. And then there's just talking about Atlantis, that there's a lot there to unpack, because it ended very abruptly and it didn't end under the best conditions. And it's very jolting in your Akashic records, okay? Well, it was for me, I'll say that. And yeah, there's a lot of grief there. So in Atlantis, I'll just talk about the end of Atlantis. And because we're seeing it mirror right now in humanity. And there's this divergence, there's kind of these two camps. And so in Atlantis, there was what was known as the children of the law of one, and we believed in the natural unfolding of the ascension process. And we very much operated our lives in the accordance with natural law. We were never going to interfere or corrupt that process. Then in Atlantis, we also had a very strong advancement in technology. And it's what we've seen in the 2000s here with our own humanity, is this real kind of whoosh, this surge of technology. And so that theme is not new. It's been on the planet before. The rise of technology, though, and I guess one of the temptations is that we use technology to really elevate the human experience. And yes, you can do that to a certain degree, but when you start rubbing up against natural law, you are playing with fire. and it does not end well. So what happened at Atlantis is exactly the same thing. The technocrats and those that were heavily into technology and science wanted to enhance the human experience. And so they had an interest in manipulating and working with the DNA of the human. And you can't play God when you're on that level. So Mother Earth gave a big shake of her skin. You can imagine a dog getting out of a wet lake and shaking off her back. That's exactly what Mother Earth did, because we took it too far in Atlantis. And it's for the ladies of light and the masters and the high priestess and the community of Atlantis, for those that were wanting to do everything by natural law and in harmony and in balance. It can be incredibly devastating when you realize that such an advanced civilization could get it so wrong. And so the Akashic Records of Awakening Atlantis for me was actually filled with a lot of grief. There was actually a lot of trauma. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot of sadness of how we could F it up so badly. And so for Atlanteans now at this moment, a lot of them can go into anger again, or grief or depression, because literally what is playing out in 2021, 2020 is a direct mirror of Atlantis. The reason it is because Mother Earth needs to heal her trauma from Atlantis. And so does humanity. We actually need to clear out this Akashic remembrance, because it has a lot of trauma in it for the growth and for the history of this planet. So it's an airing out. It's a good thing that these themes are playing out again. So don't make yourself antagonized by it. Please don't put yourself in one camp or another camp. All you need to do is just come to it with this higher understanding and see the beauty in the system that Mother Earth would actually want to heal herself, and see the beauty of humanity's attempt to clear out really heavy garbage from its Akash. And we're really kind of coming out of that. We really are kind of these new springs. There is a sense of new hope. And you really do need to hang around with like-minded people to keep your energetic field so clean, so focused, so on point, because there is really big, beautiful things happening. It really is what this mind is focusing on that's going to make you or break you as to what reality you want to play in. And the choice is yours. You know, the choice is very much yours. Okay, good. I think I've covered off a lot of my points. That's fantastic. So, you know, for me in my own personal story, I did kind of have to get into Atlantis first. There was a little bit of heavy lifting to do. There was a lot of grief. And then I really noticed once I'd kind of got through that, the portals for Lemuria really started opening up, because they're so much more beautiful. They're so much more gentler and softer and more nourishing. And really a lot of the women's power is, there's just so much beauty when you connect into Lemuria. There's just levels and levels of depth and compassion. So we are very much, you know, in this awakening of the return of the feminine path of power. And I really view that as women getting to know the powers of their body and getting to know this information about how you do access your Akash and your DNA. So we'll go into a few little practices very shortly, just 2 exercises that I use. And then what you do is you find that the 3D living really is operating down in those lower chakras. So that's why spiritual masters of late have been wearing the orange or the yellow robes. So you see the Dalai Lama, he's in his orange robe with the yellow and the red. They're all those lower chakra colors, right? The reason they're wearing those colors is because that's kind of the predominant power point for the collective consciousness at the moment. So we've been very driven by the solar plexus, by the base, like getting the needs of the base met, you know, that survival mechanism is the base chakra, the deep reds. And so also you need to step out of survival mode to relax your body and to soften your consciousness. So you can just tell yourself, tell your cellular structure to drop the fight and flight and freeze response, that the noise of the external world no longer has a hold on you, that the power of the internal voice is the loudest predominant note that you want to play in your life. And so the external world begins to soften and drop and drop and drop. And so its entanglement diminishes. And then you're very much on the front foot then of riding this fifth dimensional wave. And you will be out the front for a while until we gather more people. So it might feel a little scary, you might feel a little lonely, but it's just happening so quickly. There are more and more of us. So this is the process I call, so the power collective agreement of the power center was down in that solar plexus for the 3D world, right? So as we're ascending up into the higher dimensions, we're moving up a musical scale, we're moving up an octave. So the power center for fifth dimensional living is the throat. So more, if we see the avatars return and ascended masters return, they will be wearing blues this time. It is a shift. So we're moving up an octave. So if you know the chakra points, you can equate them to musical notes on a piano, on a scale. And so fifth dimensional living gets housed here in the throat. They're the royal blues. It's the return of truth. And so this is going to become a very big power center for people that know the game of how this framework operates. So people will rise and speak their truth. You will be able to heal through the voice. The singing will return for the women. The women won't be afraid to speak up, yeah, for fear of persecution, all of those old stories. We won't be fearful of the patriarchal system or the wounded male. We will feel safe and we will speak freely again. And so then you're simply channeling, you're getting the golds in from the crown, and now you're speaking and healing and unifying out through the throat. So that's where the chakra points are shifting as well in the physical body. Okay, shall we do some practices now? I'm just noticing the time. I'll just share a few practices, okay? So the first practice I use is really getting this relationship and getting reacquainted with your cellular structure again. And I call it kind of boarding the mothership. And the reason it's called the mothership is that the Palladians came here to seed our planet and our humanity, and it was the women that were the spiritual teachers. The women went out. So all the men organized the logistics, they organized the transportation and the technology to get us over here. But it's the women that were the spiritual teachers to this humanity, and that was the Palladians in the time of Lemuria. So the whole purpose of Lemuria was to train the women to be the shamans, to be the Shah women of the planet. So this is what the Akashic Records are now going to talk to. If you have a remembrance from Lemuria, you will have strong wisdom and strong medicine and strong, beautiful teachings that do come from the stars. And it is to help and evolve our planet and our humanity. So I call this kind of boarding the mothership. So it's the motherships, the spaceships that came to this planet. And you've got to kind of view your life now as if you're the CEO of your own cellular structure. So if you want to change the movie, if you want to change what you see in the outside world, or if you're watching a movie, you don't change the movie that you're watching. You go back to the script writer, you go back to the producer, you go back to the set designer or the editor on post-production, and you say, look, we need to take that scene out. We need to change the script there. So don't worry about the movie that is already playing in your life, and don't worry about the movie that is playing out in the world, because that's not where you change it. You change it back with the script writer. You change it back with the editor and the producer and whatnot. So this is what we're doing to our cellular structure. We're going back to the script writer and saying, hey, I don't like that scene anymore. We need to edit that out, and we need to put in a program. We're programming a new script. So this is what the kind of precipice of this practice is that I use. And so it's boarding the mothership, and it's so simple. It's literally just closing down your eyes and putting your feet on the ground and centering yourself. And I speak to myself a bit abruptly at the start. It is a command. I'm talking like the CEO of my life, of my cellular structure. Because up until this point, if you haven't done this practice, your cellular structure has been running on default. It's been running on default. It's whatever the system fed you. It's whatever mainstream media fed you. It's whatever the teachers told you at high school. And so they've just kind of been running along on default. And now you've come across this information. And so you're going to go back and reintroduce yourself to your cellular structure, going, listen up. I'm actually the boss around here. They're like, what? You're talking to us now? We've been trying to get your attention for 40 years. And so you talk to yourself like this, and it's like, listen up, Myra. I'm boarding the motherboard. Yeah, the control panel, the motherboard of life. Why is it called the motherboard and the mothership? You investigate that yourself. All these key practices have the word mother in it. It's from the feminine line of a higher wisdom. That's why. So now we're at the motherboard, and you listen up. I'm talking to you now. I've worked out this game that I'm actually in charge of my reality, and in charge, more than that, I'm in charge of my cellular structure, and I'm in charge of the script that I write. So from this moment forward, you need to restore me back to the original blueprint for humanity. And I say it a bit sternly because I'm talking to kind of small children that have been running the show for a while. Now I talk softer to my cellular structure. But when you start out, you might have to talk quite assertively to get their attention. And so I just start scripting different things, but I'm not talking to my consciousness. I want to go beyond that. I want to find a higher place. I'm not talking to my belief systems. I'm not talking to my wounding that I've got from mum or dad or my childhood. This is a higher level. of programming. You don't like the program in your DNA, you change it. You don't like the programming in your cellular structure, you can change it. So the first one I ever came across is you restore me back to the original blueprint for this humanity. And you just keep coaching it through that process. And literally the old vows, the old contracts, the old interference of different parts of this humanity that I can't even know about all of them. But they just become quieter and quieter and less significant, and they have less of a trigger and a hold on you. And the predominant story is me being returned back to my original blueprint for humanity. Now, why would I want that? Because the Palladians were involved at that point. So now I'm actually accessing Palladian wisdom, Palladian medicine, Palladian healing. So that's one of them. And the other one I do is you return me back to my golden path of ascension. Because I'm living out all timelines now, all of my past, my present, and all my potential future lives, all of my star lives are living out simultaneously right now. So I want to unify all those, and I want to channel the many me's through the current me. So return me back to my golden path of ascension now. And I'm talking to my cellular structure at this level. Then channel the many me's through the current me. What that does is that then this Myra doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting in her life. I have a whole community behind me from all of the magnificent lives I have already lived. So most people, when they do past life regression work, and the world of counselors, the world of psychology will need to evolve as well, because their work will need to shift. And also the world of past life regression, because of the density on the planet, so many people were drawn to past life regression just simply for the trauma, like the drowning, the burning at the stake, the cutting the tongue, the stab in the back, you know, story after story. And that stuff's just sludge. It's so heavy to work with. And then I worked out, I want all the magnificent past lives. Please come back online. I want the ones that I know have higher wisdom. I want the ones that know that they are incredible healers and that they have optimal health. Bring that magnificent past life back online now and allow me to channel that, because you can, because of the information I've told you. It's just coming through the portals of your cellular structure. And the biggest thing here is actually you just believing now what I've told you and testing it out and trying it in your body. Just try it on for size for a week, you know, and just see things shift. And subtly you'll walk into a room very differently. And so let's just end now, because we're getting closer to time. So that's kind of the first little spiritual hack I do, is talking to your cellular structure like that. So I call that getting in control of your motherboard, boarding your mothership. And the final practice I teach is a foundational practice, and this is called resetting to divinity. And I never get tired of this one. I've been teaching it for 20 years, and it has unlocked so many things for me. And it is simply just, you can do it in the chair or wherever you are now. And it is just planting your feet into the ground and closing down your eyes. And just having a straight spine, as comfortable as you can get your spine. And so resetting to divinity is based on 2 pillars. And the first pillar is that you know that you are awake and aware. And so this is paying reverence to your incarnation. This is paying respect to the 3D reality. This is paying respect to your physical body. So I know that I am awake and aware. And I'm just going to take that a little further, and I'd like you to investigate and discover how you are holding your spine in space. And so is it compressed in certain areas? Is it elongated and spacious in some other areas? And so we're still at pillar number 1. This is just exploring the very fact that I am awake and aware, and what my spine is doing in space. And so just feel the sensations in the body. And then we're just going to swing across to pillar number 2, ever so gently. And pillar number 2 goes a little something like this. I'm going to invite all of the cells of my being to drop into deeper and deeper states of relaxation. So I'm going to explore what that feels like now. Pillar number 2, what does it feel like in your body when you instruct your cells, all of them, to drop into deeper and deeper states of surrender? So pillar number 2 is paying homage to the other side of the veil. This is calling the quantum, acknowledging it, saying, yes, I know you were there. My divinity is found through the relaxation of my cellular structure. And so this is pillar number 2. Now, the practice of resetting to your divinity is I now invite you to slowly merge and meld pillar number 1 with pillar number 2. So pillar number 1, I know I'm awake and I'm aware. What is my spine doing in space? And I'm going to merge that with pillar number 2, where all of the cells of my being are going to drop into incredible states of surrender. And so those 2 pillars actually get merged at the center point of your body, and it's going to run along your spinal cord, which is your column of ascension. This is you becoming a pillar of light. And you're just going to continue that practice for as long or as short as time permits you. And you can literally do this with your eyes open in the supermarket queue, gardening, picking up the children from school, because it is acknowledging the human experience at pillar number 1. I am awake and aware. I know that about my reality. I have to do my dharma. I have to do this thing called living in the 3D. So this practice pays respect to that and says, yes, we hear you, Myra. We hear you that you're a mother, that you're a wife. We hear you that you're having the human experience. And pillar number 2 so beautifully comes in, and the more you practice, it won't take long. It will start to wash you and bathe you in divine light. And it will come through the center point of each and every cell that you have. And that is how you become a leading lady of light. You embody it for yourself. And the people in your community and your family will begin to notice shifts in your life. And so I use resetting of divinity to light up my golden path of ascension. So it's not the light coming through my crown. It's not the light coming from a particular area of my body. It is the light of all of my beingness from the other side of the veil, having an expression on this side of the veil. And it literally resets you back to divinity. So then everything you touch turns to gold. It's not you, it's the divine unity consciousness. It's the unified field now flooding through your cellular structure. Yes, good night, Erica. Thank you so much for joining. I'm wrapping up now. Thank you. Erica's in California, everyone, so she's on a different time zone to us. So that's kind of me wrapped up as well, those 2 practices. If anyone has any questions, please unmute yourself and introduce yourselves here. If you'd like me to clarify any of the concepts or practices, I'm happy to. And if you are located on the Sunshine Coast, I have the temple space here. I do have a masterclass coming up on Saturday, the 30th of April, and it is in person. It is a live masterclass where I go so much more in depth as to what I've just shared today. My husband also facilitates that workshop. He's a full body channel. He'll be channeling. Yeah, great, Ruth. It really is one of the best offerings I can give humanity. My husband is involved. He channels a beautiful collective from Sirius. So the star people are very much there. And also we go through a lot of Kriya breath work, because breath work from the yogic perspective is such a great activator of your DNA and of your cellular structure. So my husband has been teaching Kriya breath work for over 25 years. We're incredibly safe and respectful to the ancient practice. So I'll drop a link to people if they wish to make that workshop. And we have my beautiful very own priestess healer, Natalie, there. And she'll be doing the light language transmissions as well for a short kind of portion of that workshop. Beautiful gifts and activations and really returning. And I really want the women now to experience the sensation in the body of what it feels like to step into an Akashic remembrance, okay? I've had 4 or 5 of those episodes now. And so the workshop is very much designed for you to have the embodiment. Yes, Natalie, you're signed up. You've got your ticket. And so, you know, it's very well and good to share the kind of concepts in this way to appease the mind, but it really is about getting that wisdom and understanding and that sense of knowing within the body as well. And if any of the women wish to take this work incredibly so much further, there's an opportunity to work with me one-on-one for 3 months. And we go incredibly deeper into this, and we get your soul's highest mission activated. And that's so incredibly important for star seeds when they come from those higher evolved planets. It can feel very, very lonely and not a great journey for when you land on this planet. And literally, I'll share this now, because if you do encounter more star seeds, please share this information with them. The star seeds are literally carrying around seeds, and it's from the wisdom and the medicine of their higher evolved planets that they've just come from. So this world and this planet can feel very dense. It can feel very alienating, and I'm definitely a starseed. It's just, I didn't know that. There was no terminology. There was no name for it back in the day. But the star seeds are literally looking to plant their seeds, and until they know this, they won't be able to ground themselves really beautifully and safely onto this planet. And the seeds that they're looking to plant is their soul's highest mission. That's literally what they are carrying around. And so once that gets kind of named and articulated and helped and guided through with a star seed, then the star seed has this immense amount of power to plant their seeds of their soul's highest mission, and they are off and running. They literally are off and running so well that they don't want to die. They don't want to leave the planet now, because they actually know the reason why they're here, and they are looking for somewhere to plant their seeds that they are carrying from those higher evolved planets. Because those energies need to take hold on this planet to germinate. And so once a star seed knows that, their feet literally land on this planet, and they begin to grow roots, and they begin to feel grounded. And then they don't want to depart their body. They don't want to have suicidal thoughts anymore. They really do want to live here. And so, yeah, that's just something I've seen through my 20 years of work in this space. So if you do meet star seeds, let them know this information, and they can reach out to me or have beautiful guidance and help from you. So if you are new to my community, please come to the New Earth Sisterhood. There's one on April the 21st on the Sunshine Coast. It's an incredible community. It's growing in strength. It's growing in power and love. It's something I'm incredibly proud of to create here. We have that workshop on April the 30th. And for those of you abroad and really want a one-on-one experience, please reach out on my email address. I can see the participants here. So if you email me, I can let you know about that 3-month mentorship package as well. And it's literally called Alchemy of Ascension as well. And we go through all of the energetic bodies, all of the aspects of your life. We get you on your golden path of ascension. If you happen to have a business, your business will shift as well because of the work that I do. So that's just a really incredible, beautiful offering I have. It's divinely guided. There are miraculous stories that come out of that way that I work. So I don't work just one-on-one as a consult. I'm not a practitioner. I'm not a consultant like that. The way that I work is very much on a transformational journey, and I journey with you for 3 months. All of my clients become my best friends, because is literally you become soul sisters, because you know the heart of these women so intimately. And we're all here for the same reason, you know, we all want the same result. We want to know our power, our freedom. We want to return this planet back to peace. And we have beautiful, oh, what's that, Mary? I'm just reading. Yeah, sure, Mary, I can send you some more information. It is all online, so we can work overseas. Thank you, Mary. I will contact you with that information. You know, that's at the end of the day, we just all want the same. We all want to know and to experience our divinity, that I am divine, you are all divine, and together we are one, and we can meet together in that unified field. This is the invitation from the fifth dimensional now. We have to ride this wave because ultimately it washes us into the sea of unity consciousness. So just trust it. You might have to jump, yeah? You might have to jump off the cliff. It's so worth it. And I do share, you know, this, your new life in this fifth dimensional experience of more refined and heightened energetics. It does cost you your old life, but by God, I couldn't think of a more better exchange. One that is dense, one where I was suffering, one where I felt alone, that I was poor, spiritually, emotionally, financially, all of those levels of the human experience. I felt so trapped and so limited, and I literally felt like the caged lion. Star seeds and ascending ladies of light like this, we have a huge reserve of power. Huge. It's not just a tap, it's a waterfall for women. And you've got to get comfortable with running that amount of power through your energetic system. And then it needs to flood out through the throat. So I love you. Thank you so much for being present and witness to this experience. I thank you for your love and your light and your medicine and your wisdom. And like I said at the start, I can only take you to the places that I've personally traveled to. After that, it is your wisdom, your Akash, your magnificence and your divinity kicking in, and go and do this work, whatever shape or form or container that takes, you know. Thank you so much, women. I'll try and get this recording out. Yes, there will be, Mary. I have been recording this, so I'll just get it all. I don't know how to do the IT. I'll find out, Mary. But yes, I'll probably share it in a Google Doc link where this Zoom recording is available for all. Sorry about the tech at the start. I actually couldn't get it, unfortunately, live streamed to the Facebook group. So I'm going to find a way that I can record, kind of package this in the Google link, and I'll send that link and make it also available in the Facebook group. So please rise, beautiful women. Any final questions or comments, please unmute yourself and share. That's completely fine, but I will wrap it up now because it is, that has been the allocated time. But remember, you are divine, I am divine. We are all one. We are in the sea of oneness, okay? Great, thanks, Mary. I'll get the replay. Yeah, that way you can get the start of the talk as well. Beautiful. Thanks, everyone. So much love and light to you all. And follow your golden path. Remember that.